And now Slavoj Žižek in The Pervert's Guide to Tasty Treats.
Yes, you may have noticed that years ago I became a meme. I was rushing down the street, shoving my face with hot dogs. What is not revealed in the film, the reason I was moving so fast down street is because from the momentum of the tasty dogs. These dogs that I was shoving into my face were so good that I was being pushed down street. This debate is crucial. Which of tarts is best tart? First, we have the very basic on top, no frosting, inside strawberry tart. This is the anti-revolutionary, reactionary tart. Then we have the revolutionary version of the tart, which is the s'mores tart. The aim of the s'mores tart is to take the primitive world of camping into the breakfast world. One classic treat from the world of treats, sweet treats, is the Sour Patch Kids. If you open bag of kids, you notice you can easily see all the kids. But what is obscure is the patch. Where is this patch? Bees is the ultimate dialectical sweet treat because you are confronted with the choice. Will I stop eating this horrible treat, or will I continue just because it is sweet? People ask me, why do you drink Monster? This reminds me of the film by David Lynch, Blue Velvet. When Frank is using the tank, this is how I feel when I'm drinking the Monster. Very interestingly, I also like to drink NOS. For me, Monster or NOS creates a space in which I can function. Another crucial treat is strips. This is rainbow strips. In today's industrial world, on the surface, strips seem progressive, rainbow, inclusive, blah, blah, blah. But if you strip back the mask, you will notice the true nature of the strips. This man is the true face of the strips.
What do the Democrats do with this sort of like sole position on the playing field? And it's almost like the one thing they got to do is just take the bolt cutters.
Take the bolt cutters. Take the bolt cutters.
Take the bolt cutters.
Okay, so we had a little fun there with our friend Slavoj Žižek, with Žižek. And if you haven't seen the Slavoj Žižek documentaries, you should go watch them because they're all really interesting. The first one, which I think was made in the very early 2000s, is just called Zizek! Which is, it's exactly what I would want. It's exactly what I want to see in a documentary, which is an interesting person. Just follow them around. What's their private life like? What's their, what do they do? What do they have to say about themselves? It's perfect for that because it's like a guy who kind of overanalyzes things and then explains it in a funny way. But there's a part in that movie, which I think is the funniest part of all those documentaries, which is for some reason, he's talking to, I guess, the documentary producers or whatever, the production team, and he sees a picture of himself in the newspaper when he was like giving a talk or something, and he's asking them, would you let your daughter date a creep who looks like that?
Can I ask you a simple question? Right. If you were to have a daughter, would you allow this guy to take your daughter to cinema? Be honest. The answer is no. I hate the way I appear. In some documents, it's even worse. It's really as a kind of a criminal that I appear,
The other thing that's kind of interesting, a couple people put comments in some of the YouTube videos that I've uploaded where they're like, actually a bunch of people, it's kind of a recurring thing that people ask is like, could you do a video talking about the Zizek-Peterson debate? And I can't remember when that was. That was like a couple years ago, right? The only thing that you, I think, really need to know about that debate is there's a part when, like toward the end, where Peterson is just kind of watching Slavoj Žižek. He's just kind of like watching him. It's sort of a weird thing. People have passed that clip around a lot. And it's kind of everything you need to know. Because Peterson, now he's coming out with a new book of rules, more rules for life. And when Peterson was like watching this guy talk, what was happening is that Peterson was watching somebody who like knows how to have a good time and is like filled with like a joy of life, or just like he's just having fun. Peterson can't do that. And what we've seen over the past 5 or 6 years is that Peterson's fans can't do that either. They're obsessed with this guy in an unhealthy way. The Peterson swarm when somebody puts a negative comment about their Christ. The fact that you would need, and this is why I think Slavoj Žižek would not write a 12 rules for life type self-help book. I couldn't imagine him writing a self-help book. And the reason is because if you're to the point where you would need a Jordan Peterson self-help book, you would actually need Slavoj Žižek more, because he's analyzing the kind of structure that would lead you to need something like that, and especially to get attached the way his fans do to that stuff. So it's kind of ironic, but the funnier part of it, the more interesting, like personal part of it, is I've interacted with Jordan Peterson fans a bunch online, and they're all the same. They're all joyless, not fun. Like they would learn so much more just by like watching some of the Slavoj Žižek documentaries. They're joyless, stiff branches that are just ready to snap. In fact, Sammy Cedar, friend of the show, he doesn't know I exist. Friend of the show, Sammy Cedar, did a video years back when I think Jordan Peterson first started becoming a thing, where he said he made a joke like, countdown to this guy has a mental breakdown, and he predicted it. And honestly, I think part of that is that stiff branch, like everything's a big deal, like kind of like what it is really. I mean, it's fine to not have a great sense of humor or whatever, but taking yourself as seriously as he does, and his fans take themselves and him seriously, it's like you're gonna have a mental breakdown. Okay, sorry. Whether you get addicted to drugs or not, that you just cannot live like that. You can't live like that for very long. You're just too stiff. You're too stiff of a branch, my friend. You're gonna snap. Okay, guys. Okay, guys, I know I ask a lot from you, and I'm very demanding and annoying person, a lot of people say. I get that a lot. And I wanted to ask, instead of, because I notice I come on here, and I'm like, this is what I like, oh, you should watch this, you should listen to this, do what I say, and I'm goose-stepping around, exerting my horrible dictatorial attitude on people. And what I would like to say in this episode is I would like to know if there's anybody watching this, put in the comments, what, and the theme of this is lesser known. Lesser known. Is there something that's lesser known, whether it's a book, a movie, a song, a YouTube channel, a website, that not enough people know about, that you think people should know more about? I'd like you to put it in the comments, please. Okay, so on the last episode of this program, we talked about, or I mentioned, this documentary that's free on YouTube, the new Adam Curtis documentary. I've been watching this. I've watched 3 parts of it so far. It is a long one. It is a long one, my friends. But I do think that he's great. And what I like about this documentary, there's a couple things. First of all, I have to say, part of what I've always liked about this guy is that it's very minimal. Like, what he's working with is very minimal. It's his voice and then a bunch of archival footage and sometimes stock footage and stuff like that. And to tell these giant stories and cover these big concepts with that little bit of resources. And I think there are some of these documentaries he's done entirely on his own. I think for this one he had some help from the BBC, or maybe, but it's really just him with a microphone and then a bunch of footage that he cuts together and music, and probably to get the rights for the music costs some money. But, and that's it. It's not a big production, but he's still telling these giant stories and covering these giant issues. I love that. So the other thing I want to talk about is the actual content of these documentaries. And last time I was just talking about how, he's sort of talking about power and political power. And it's not a simplified, dumbed down explanation of this stuff. It's, in my opinion, he's doing a real examination through all these historical stories about this big topic, this big issue of people struggling for power and people exerting their will, their own power over other people.
But one revolutionary was still not going to give up. Jiang Qing now joined with 3 others who had run the Cultural Revolution. They were determined to seize power when Mao died. They were known as the Gang of Four.
And in the second part of this documentary, one of the most interesting things, of course, is all the Black Panther stuff is very interesting. And then you have the Michael X story, the guy who was a kind of slumlord's enforcer who became Malcolm X's touring partner, I guess a kind of friend, somebody who became a sort of radical revolutionary kind of guy. And then you still have Chairman Mao's wife / revolutionary partner in China, and her kind of corruption happening. She eventually became part of the Gang of Four. Part of what I think he's doing really interestingly is showing how concentrated power corrupts people, and how concentrated power causes this problem, because now it just kind of recycles the same old system that people are doing revolutions to get rid of. It just kind of starts repeating itself with the story of Jiang Qing and the Michael X.
They became known as the Panther 21. their trial was held in a state of paranoia about further attacks by the Panthers. But it also caused a sensation when it was revealed that 3 of the founding members of the group had been undercover police officers.
The Afeni Shakur and Panther 21 story, where they were basically infiltrated and they were basically pushing these Black Panthers to do more violent, kind of almost like terrorist acts.
Unlike all the other Panthers, Afeni Shakur chose to defend herself. And at the end of the trial, she cross-examined the leading undercover agent. He was the man she had suspected from the start, Yedwa Sudan. His real name was Ralph White. A journalist who was in the courtroom wrote a book that described what happened. She started by getting White to admit that really most of the inspiration for the plots came from the undercover agents. Not only had they continually pushed for the violence and suggested the targets, but they had also arranged to buy the dynamite of yet another undercover agent. They had also arranged for the cars to transport the dynamite.
This really is, I mean, the word, I think I mentioned this in the previous episode, like the word power basically means nothing. It's like, to me, I think of like, whatever, the Kanye West song or something. It's just meaningless almost. But this documentary, I think, does a really good job of showing this constant struggle and the kind of really dark side of having concentrated power. And to me, what I'm thinking while I'm watching this is, instead of concentrated power, there needs to be, this is kind of like the ideal of democracy, of that everyone has power. It's not concentrated. There's no monarch. It's not a feudal thing going on where just a couple people have power and they're telling everyone else what to do. The way to avoid this kind of corrupting, horrible situation is to spread power. And part of what he's talking about, too, is what's going on in the United States right now and what's going on in the world right now, really, which is a lot of concentrated power that's being used for evil. So, very interesting boy, this Adam Curtis. Very interesting boy. I will say, very heavy. This documentary does get very heavy. It's not a comedy. It's not a comedy, my friends. This is a deep, it's a deep, as I call it. It's a real engaging and challenging and very creative and well-produced examination of this situation of power struggle.
I didn't get paid for years. After Einstein, the next week I was driving a cab. It was a big hit, but it was not a financial success.
Yeah.
We sell full houses. We thought we were making money. We found out we had lost money.
I'm really happy that a lot of people seem to like the suggestion, not just here on Patreon.com, just in real life too. I've been recommending to people, you know, not just out of nowhere, if it comes up in conversation. That Alton Goon band, I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. Alton Goon. Hey, you goons, you Turkish goons. And a lot of people seem to like it. People who have never heard of it or, you know, don't care. They're just like, oh, yeah, I actually do like that. And I've been listening to that a lot, so I'm glad that some people like that. And by the way, if you have any music that you think we should be listening to, please put it down. This is not this is not that kind of thing. But I think a lot of people said that they liked hearing recommendations of music and stuff, and I'm just going to tell you what I've been listening to the past couple days. You probably already know this, and I definitely think this is going to be on YouTube, but a fairly obvious one, Phil Glass. I call him Phil. Phil Glass. Phil Glass, this guy. What's the guy's name from NPR, from This American Life? Ira Glass. Ira Glass's dad, Philip Glass, he made this album a long time ago. When was this done? Can't remember. 86. Called Songs from Liquid Days. And I really like this. Let's see who's on it. Laurie Anderson, David Byrne from the Talking Heads, Paul Simon, Suzanne Vega, and then a bunch of other people. Linda Ronstadt is on this at some point. But I love this because it's like, it's very, I don't know, there's like a very, I get a real pep in my step from this. There's something really, this period of music and in this kind of musical scene that he helped create was a real, like, they were really trying stuff, and they were really, like, I think, trying to understand, trying to experiment with music in ways that were not just, in ways that were fun, too. Like, they weren't just like, oh, we're doing a very serious experiment. It's, like, fun to listen to, but it's also an experiment. I'll put a link to this if I can find this on YouTube. It's very different than the Alton Goon type suggestion, where it's very produced, and basically a lot of that is, to me, like dance music or electronic pop music. This is more, we're getting more into classical music, or experimental classical music maybe. But if you haven't heard this, which I imagine many of you probably already have, it's worth re-listening to, and if you haven't, you gotta listen to this. So I'll put a link below. David Byrne, Philip Glass, one of the greats, Ira Glass's stepdad. I don't know why, I just kind of found this and I was listening to it a lot this week. Okay, so one final note to you beautiful guys and ghouls out there. People have been saying that I should try live streaming. I would like your thoughts on that. What day? I'm thinking Monday. Is Monday, does that not make sense for some reason? What are some ideas? I was thinking of going old school radio style and doing a topic, but I wouldn't want to do boring topics like, you know, one of my radio heroes is a guy named Neil Rogers.
Does it disturb you that I have no sexual interest in you or any other women? Does that disturb you? Do you find that you obviously have a complex about that?
Who's a lot of his stuff is online if you want to see it. I think that he today would be canceled. He would be immediately canceled. He died in 2009, I think, but he's like a South Florida radio legend. He's a little old gay Jewish guy who would just rip everybody a new butthole on his radio show, and he would play sound clips and all that stuff too. He was a hero of mine when I was a little kid, you know, and he would do like topics, like he would do polls, like who's the greatest singer of all time, or who would you trade places with for one day. Could go that route, old-fashioned radio style, or I don't know, something else. Just talk to people on Discord. And this is Dan Frank, if you're watching this right now, I think I made a good point, because he was talking about other political streamers, and it seems like they really don't like talking to their fans, and they really don't like talking to people unless they're like debating them or something. I would like to, you know, actually talk to people and get like some kind of funny dialogue going. Maybe, I don't know, maybe the reason they don't like that is because there's not enough drama or whatever, but it's just because they don't get it, you know. So I don't know, give me any of your thoughts on streaming. There's like an application where you can stream on YouTube and Twitch at the same time. Any thoughts you have? What do you do on a stream? How long should it be? An hour? Who knows? Should there be some kind of twist to it? Because so many streams are the same. Should it be more like produced, like a wacky show? These are the questions we got to be asking ourselves, guys. These are the real top. This is what really, to be honest, what I think the Biden administration should be focusing, I would say, entirely on. And pretty much every organization in the country should stop what they're doing and think about this. That's just my opinion, but it's correct. So, thank you for watching this beautiful program. So, guys, thank you for watching this beautiful program. I want to give a big shout out to Slav Žižek for showing up and being a special guest on the program. And I will see you later.
Muscular class.